The reason your spirit guides aren't talking to you is because you're asking them the wrong things. They're never going to swoop in and change your life. They're never going to automatically jump in and grant you some wishes to where everything changes. They're not genies. What they're there for is to give you guidance, perspective, information, and just advise you. But you're going to have to make the decision. You're going to have to put in the work in order to change your life. There's nothing that's going to happen where they're going to just magically change and put you into a completely new timeline and a completely new life with a completely new scenario. You've got to make the decisions. You've got to do the work around that. And the only way that's going to happen is by you creating an action plan and going out there and doing it. Now, along that action plan, can you ask your spirit guides for input and information and perspective and guidance on things and awarenesses that you may not be fully aware of in that moment? Absolutely. You can ask them for that. Just don't ask them to do it for you. Welcome everybody. How's everybody doing today? Thank you all for joining the live. Just pop on in. If you have any questions, go ahead and jump on in the comments. This is going to be like a Q&A style live. I'm here to help you. What's going on? What's preventing you from connecting with your loved ones? What's going on with your spirit guides? You know, ask me questions and I'm here for you all. Mr. Wright, thanks for joining in. Etush, thank you for coming on. Wendy, how's it going? Sala, Luis, welcome. Kay, thanks for coming on in. Stephanie, welcome, welcome. Like the live, let me know where you guys are calling in from as well. Michelle, welcome. Welcome everybody. It's so nice to see you all. So yeah, I kind of just want to get started, just see where I can, see what I can do to help you guys. You know, it was going live yesterday and it really enjoyed it, really had a good time. So I'm probably going to be going live a little bit more. So this is going to give us an opportunity to connect and get any of your questions answered. I know that I get a lot of questions out on the comments, so here I am. You know, one of the things that I like to talk about is expectations, right? Because I feel like a lot of people, when communicating with spirit or when somebody's wanting to connect with their loved one, they're expecting them to physically manifest in front of them and see them just as clear as you can see you and I. And that's really not a valid expectation. What we can expect is to see them in our mind's eye. And the way that we see a spirit in our mind's eye is the same way that we see a memory. Okay, except it's not a memory that we're conjuring it up. It's not something that we're visualizing. It's something that the energy of the spirit is projecting into our mind's eye and we are receiving. That image is being painted in our mind's eye from the spirit's energy. And so when we look at it from that perspective, we can really start to see things that are going on in the spirit world that we may already be seeing, and we're just bringing awareness to it right now. Go back and think about some of those times where you may have just gotten this random vision, or where you may have thought you saw something, but as soon as you turned, it wasn't there. These are all kind of like cues of where our conscious mind comes in and kind of starts to like break things up for us when we're trying to perceive the spirit world, right? Or our expectation comes in and disrupts an experience that we've had. You know, I'm sure we've all had those experiences where you get this awesome, amazing awareness, right? Where you might just get your intuition just speaks to you so loudly and clearly, and then you start doubting it, right? And then you're like, wow, what was that? No, that wasn't real. That couldn't be it. This isn't it. And then a day or a week later, it plays out and you're like, man, I should have listened to that, right? Ursula from South Africa, thank you. Duck Runner wants to know, I heard my granddad speak to me. What does that mean? It means he's reaching out to you from the spirit world, right? There is no meaning. When our loved ones reach out to us, there is no universal meaning. It's whatever he's wanting to connect with you about, right? Maybe he's just here to say hi. Maybe he's here to give you a piece of information. Maybe he's here to just kind of give you a little advice, right? A little grandfatherly, little pat on the back. Good job, attaboy, right? Whatever it is. There's so many different reasons why our loved ones would reach out and speak to us. There isn't just one reason. And so in order to find out what that reason is, or why our loved ones are specifically reaching out to us, the only way to understand what that is to engage with them, right? Is just to start talking to them. Talk, even if you think they can't hear you. Just start talking to them. They can hear you. And if you keep talking without feeling like a fool, without thinking you're looking ridiculous, without thinking like you're just making this up and it's all nonsense, if you just keep talking, you're gonna have an experience and it will be undeniable. But most people stop prematurely. They stop too early because of those feelings. And it's about pushing through that, because everybody feels that way. Everybody feels like they're making it up and they're in their head. I don't care who the medium is. I don't care how long you've been doing this. Everybody feels like that when they first get started. But those of us that have been doing it for a while, those of us that are comfortable and it seems natural, we know that that's a part of it and we just move through it. We're comfortable being uncomfortable, and we know that on the other side of those feelings, on the other side of feeling like we're making it up, is that undeniable experience. So we just keep going. Thank you for the follow, Mikey. Appreciate that. Mary Jane, thanks. I'm glad you're enjoying the videos. Every time I dream of my daughter, what does it say? Hold on. Every time I dream of my daughter I lost 3 years ago, who was 22, I see her as a child or a baby. Why? Our loved ones can show up in many different forms. They don't have to show up in the way that we remember them, right? They can show up in the way that they were in their prime, right? For example, let's say, our grandparents pass, right? They may show up in their 40s when we go to connect with them, because that's when they were in the prime of their life. That's when they felt the best, right? Or somebody who passed before we met them might show up as the pictures that we were shown, not necessarily what they looked like in death, right? But maybe we had a family member who we only saw pictures of in their 20s and 30s, right? Passed before we were born. They're gonna show up in a way that we will recognize them. So specific for you, why is your 22-year-old daughter showing up as a child? Is really unknown, and really the only way that we would understand why is by interacting and engaging with her, right? Because we don't know, is she showing up as a baby because that's the most amazing time that you had with her and that was the most beautiful, the closest connected that you felt with her? Is that the most time that you really enjoyed? You enjoyed her being a baby. And so she's one, and if you're grieving, is she showing up to help bring some of those memories up, to bring some of those good feelings that are coming up for you, right? Is that one of the reasons? We don't know. We have to engage in order to really find out. We have to investigate and be curious, right? I don't think that there's any one reason or any universal reason why a loved one would show up as one age or another. I think it's just more about us than it is them. That's my experience. Man, you guys are from all over the place. We got Sudan, we got Louisiana, we've got Holland. Well, I think that that's a big misconception that they come, yeah, right. Okay, so I was reading that comment wrong. Yes, they do. They sometimes will come to you in their happiest time, right? And sometimes they'll present you they'll present themselves in other ways that help get across information, right? If, like, for instance, if I'm reading for somebody and I'm starting to feel a heaviness, right? They can start to make you aware of how they passed or how they crossed over, which may not be the happiest, right? But generally they do come in very happy and very eager and wanting to connect and communicate with you. But that's not all of, we can't blanket statement anything, right? It doesn't always happen that way. How do we know the difference between a visitation dream and just a regular dream? That's a really good question. And there is a very easy way to distinguish between the two, all right? Now, a regular dream is just a subconscious projection. It's going to be kind of flat. It's going to be your subconscious kind of just discharging information. There may be a story around it. There may be like a lot of randomness to it. The randomness is going to be a key sign that it's just a subconscious dream. Now, if it truly is a visitation dream, it is going to feel so real. you're going to forget that they even had passed. You're going to be interacting with them in that dream like they are still here. And when you wake up, it can be quite emotional because how intimate and vivid and real the dream was. That's how you can tell that it was a visitation dream. It is very, very, very vivid. I feel very close to my son who passed 3 years ago. Why have I not dreamed of him yet? Well, one of the reasons why is because maybe you don't remember your dreams, right? Maybe it's, has more to do with your subconscious and how deep you sleep than anything else. But here's what I tell people who are wanting to have dreams with their loved one in spirit. Don't wait for the dream to come. Go out, actively communicate with them. You don't have to just communicate with your loved ones through a dream. As a matter of fact, it's a little more difficult doing that than it is actually reaching out and connecting with them in the spirit world. It's very simple and easy to communicate with our loved ones. And that's the thing that I think trips people up. There's all this projection and all of this hype around connecting with our loved ones where it takes a long time, it takes years of meditation, it takes special training, you have to be special, it has to be a gift, you have to be born with it, has to run in your family, right? None of that is true. Everyone can communicate with the spirit world. Everyone. We are spirits. And we can communicate with other spirits, with each other, all right? And it's just very that simple. And so rather than waiting for, our loved ones to come into our dream, just actively start connecting with them, right? Because what's happening when our loved one comes into our dream, when it seems like one of our loved ones comes into our dream, and this is really what a visitation dream is. It's where your conscious mind has settled, is asleep, but you're receptive and you're open and your consciousness is awake. You actually leave and go visit with them in the spirit world, okay? It's your energy visiting with them in the spirit world. That's why it feels so real, okay? And if your conscious mind if you're sleeping very deeply and you're not in that receptive state, you're just gonna bypass all of that. You probably are visiting with them, but you just don't remember. Right? Because you're not in that, usually it's in that in-between state, in between being awake and in between being asleep is when you start to connect with your loved one in a dream, okay? It's usually as you're falling asleep at night in the morning, or at night, or as you're waking up in the morning. That's usually when we connect with them. But here's the thing, you can get in that receptive state and be very grounded in it as well. You can go into it right now. Like I could go right into it and communicate with a spirit right now, just like you can. You watching this live, you can set the phone down and go right into it and connect with your loved one. Okay? And so that's what I recommend you guys doing rather than waiting for them to come into a dream. Okay? Is just start to feel. When you think about them, it brings their energy closer to you. So start to feel your surroundings, the energy in your surroundings. Start to think about your loved one and you'll notice a shift in the energy. That is them. So why aren't the signs I'm asking for from my deceased loved one not happening? It's because they may not be capable of giving those signs, right? If you're telling them to flicker the lights, they may not be able to, right? If you're telling them to pick things up and move them, most spirits can't do that. If they're telling you to show butterflies and they're not doing that and it's not happening for you, it's probably because they can't make that happen. We should not be asking, I shouldn't say we can't. We should not be asking for specific signs because then we're going to miss all of the other ones that are actually coming. When we have the expectation, right? When we ask, please flicker the lights, and I know that you're here, and that never comes, you may be missing the subtle feeling in your chest when they're sitting right next to you. You may miss the subtle tingle on your shoulder when they've got their hand there. You may miss the subtlety of your heart swelling as they give you a hug from the back, right? You might miss those more meaningful signs and those more vivid connections than just a superficial flickering of the lights or a superficial, right? Because even when we have the butterflies, even when we have the dimes and the feathers and all those traditional signs, even when we get those, there's still an element right in the back of our mind. We're like, this could just be a coincidence. But when you connect with their energy, there is no denying it. There is no coincidence. You know, for you, it is rock solid, concrete evidence that you're connecting with your loved one when you feel that. So don't ask for the signs, right? And if you do catch a sign, just treat it as they're waving at you, saying, hi, I'm right here, let's talk, right? Don't try and make some kind of meaning out of the sign. Really, if you're catching the sign and you know that it's them just wanting to communicate with you. It's not necessarily anything else. Yes, I see quite a few of you are saying you don't get the dreams. So here, you want me to tell you an easy way that you can get dreams of your loved ones? Here's one of the best ways. One of the best ways you can dream of your loved ones. Okay, I have these visitation dreams. Think of them. Start to think of them as you're falling asleep, right? Because remember what I said. When you think of your loved one, it brings their energy closer to yours. And when you think of them as you're falling asleep and that conscious mind starts to relax, their energy is already going to be around you. The conscious mind is relaxed, and now you start to pick up with them in that receptive state. That's the easiest way to have the visitation with your loved one. Will we see our pets when we pass? Absolutely, you'll see them now, right? You don't have to wait to pass in order to connect with your loved ones, including pets. You can connect with them now. You can see them now. We don't have to wait. There is no waiting period. We're all connected in this energy. Okay, I mean, we all are in essence our own individual energy sources. We're our own energy beings, but we are also, in the grander scheme of things, we are connected to this energy that connects us all and everything else. And so there is already a part of you that is there with your pet, that is there with your loved one in the afterlife right now. Your energy is not just here in this physical body. Your energy is much larger than what's in this physical body. It exists everywhere. And it's connected to everything. I've had dreams of people who are past. I was not particularly connected with any of these people though. Well, you're just reading into the energy, right? Some people call that precognition, right? But here's the thing, it's just reading into the energy, right? You're reading into the energy that's around you, okay? And maybe you are starting to get these hits on when these people are going to pass. That's a very real thing. That's a very real way of reading energy, right? And it seems like, right, you're having these precognitive dreams, right? Or precognition dreams where you're actually starting to dream things before they happen, okay? Now, you can get into a receptive state and very intentionally read into those same things as well, without the dream. When I was younger, I felt small. So I get this question a lot. So this person here is saying, when I was younger, I was able to sense and see spirits, but now I'm not able to. How do I get this back? So what happens here is I always return that question with a question. What happened to you up until the point you lost it? Clearly you were able to do it, and then something happened and you weren't able to, right? What happened? Life happens, right? We have all of these things that happen in life that knock us and rock us to our core. And so identifying what that event is first is going to be the key to coming back into your spiritual abilities. They didn't go anywhere, right? Something happened and caused us to kind of shut that down for whatever reason. And now it's a matter of identifying what that event is and then working with it and healing the underlying issues that caused us to do that. Hey, Jason. How long have I been a medium? So I don't resonate with the word medium. I don't consider myself a medium. I don't consider myself any different than you. Mediumship is a spirit communication modality. When we talk about mediumship, what we're really talking about is spiritualism. Now, spiritualism is not the same as being spiritual. Spiritualism is a religious movement its origins come from the mid 1800s, okay? And spiritualism has a lot of different belief systems, a lot of different dogma, a lot of different rules that need to abide by in order to be a medium. So I don't consider myself a medium. I just want to talk, I consider myself just like you all. I'm talking to spirits, so it's spirit communication, right? I don't call myself a medium. I don't call myself a psychic. I don't use any of those labels, okay? So to get back to your question, how long have I been communicating with spirits? Since my mid-30s, all right? And the thing of it is, I wasn't brought up, right? We're all born into this world. We're all born able to do this, right? But our upbringing caused us to forget about it, we get our abilities conditioned out of us from a young age, okay? And so it kind of seems like we don't even have them. We don't remember having them, right? That's why. But so I wasn't going through life like this, right? In my mid-30s, I had two separate undeniable experiences with spirits, okay, where they had physically manifested themselves that I just couldn't deny it. It slapped me in my face, okay? And after that, I wasn't able to do any of this, right? That was that one isolated time that it happened, and then I could never connect with the spirit world again, okay? But that's what started my spiritual journey. I knew that this was real after that experience, so I went on this 6-year journey trying to figure out how to do it. Okay. And I mean, I traveled the world. I went all over the place. I mentored with a lot of the big names that are out there today, and nothing helped me. And so what I ended up doing is, I had some isolated experiences along that 6-year journey. So what I ended up doing is really super analyzing that first time it happened for me and all of the other times that it was happening along that journey. And so what I started to understand were these certain themes, that there were certain feelings and there was certain stuff that was coming up over and over that was present when I was having the experiences versus when I was trying to have the experience and not having them. I noticed, and I really put out a correlation to. And so what ultimately I discovered is that all the other stuff out there on how to connect, like when you're talking about meditation and sitting in the power, that you have to do these exercises, open your third eye, you have to play with chakras, you have to do this energy stuff. All of that other stuff is bullshit when it comes to communicating with spirits, when it comes to working with your spiritual abilities. You don't need to do any of that shit. And my abilities didn't come online until I stopped trying, until I stopped fucking with all that stuff and just started doing it. Started working on myself, started doing my own healing. Nothing happened for me until I let that stuff go and started to work with the correlations that I had made along my journey with the experiences that I was having. And then, so, out of 9 years, I kind of figured it out, right? Figured out what's working. And I started to share and talk about that stuff with friends. And, for years, people pressured me to do this, right? Pressured me to speak and pressured me to hold workshops and teach this. And I did not want to. And so eventually I ended up doing reluctantly, right? Arm twisted, ended up doing my first workshop, and about 20 people showed up, okay? And I was scared to death. I had no idea what I was going to do with these people. I had no idea how to teach this. I didn't know what I was doing. All I knew is that I would talk about my stories with my friends, and they would go do some of the stuff that I was talking about in my stories, and it was working for them. And so in my first workshop, that's what I did. I just talked about my stories. And then I was like, okay, how do I get them to practice? And I was like, well, you guys get together, pair up, and do readings for each other. Begin, right? That was my first workshop, right? And so people get together, they're paired up, the whole room's silent. I turn around, I look at the door, I'm getting ready to run through the door, right? And then all of a sudden, one of the women in the back spoke up and with great detail started to describe the spirit she has connected with, right? It was the mother of the person she was reading. Nobody in this class had had any experience prior to this, mind you, okay? And so I'm just blown away by the detail that this woman is giving about the spirit. Then all of a sudden, everyone else in the room starts talking. Everyone else is reading spirits. Everybody else is communicating with the spirit world. And for 45 minutes, I walked around with my jaw on the floor, and I could not believe what was happening. Okay? And so after After the workshop was over, after we were there for 2.5 hours, as people were leaving, they were coming up to me, and I'll never forget. I had one woman come up to me, and she says, August, I just want you to know that I didn't believe in any of this. I know that there's an afterlife, but I didn't think that we can really communicate in the way that we can communicate. And so I just want to let you know that in this 2-hour workshop, I snapped out of a 20-year grief spell. I was desperate to connect with my husband. I needed to know that he was on the other side and that he was okay. And I know here today, without a shadow of a doubt, that I connected with my husband and that he is okay. And in that moment, right, and I had a couple other stories very similar to that evening. In that moment, after that workshop, I knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing with my life. And so here we are today. And so that's how long I've been doing this, right? Not that long, not my whole life, right? I just figured out a really good way, right? I just let go of all the bullshit that's out there and really went down, stripped away all the myth, stripped away all the woo, stripped away all the mystery, and just direct practical experience. That's all this takes, direct practical steps, okay? I hope that brings some clarity. Thank you all for the roses, the gifts. I appreciate it all. Olivia, hello. Enchanted Intentions, thank you. Amanda, you're my favorite person as well. Mark, hello. Tracy, I'm so sorry. Tracy has said that she lost her brother 10 days ago. Do they need time to adjust before they connect with us? I miss him. Tracy, first I just want to reassure you that you haven't lost your brother, that his physical body has transcended this dimension, but his energy is very much alive and does live on. And to answer your question, no, there's no time that they need to settle. It's instant. As a matter of fact, we can communicate with the spirit of a living person. We don't have to wait for somebody to die to communicate with their spirit, okay? And so I actually, and I could tell you my personal experience with this is I was holding my grandmother's hand as she took her last few breaths and went off into the spirit world, and we spoke the entire time. All right, the entire time as she was leaving her body, as my grandfather and her son met her on the other side of the hospital bed, as they carried her and walked her out into the sun, as I left the hospital, as we had the celebration of life, as I was laying in bed that evening when she set off all the smoke detectors, okay, I had communicated with her continuously. We do not have to wait. They do not have to wait. It can happen immediately. Corinne, I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you. Big Timmy, my guides have been telling me I don't need to meditate as much. They're talking all the time. Yeah, you don't need to meditate. You don't need to meditate at all. Like, here's the thing. Meditation isn't going to help you communicate with spirits. Meditation is not going to help you bring your abilities out more, right? What do all spiritual teachers say? Hey, it's not happening for you. You need to meditate more. You need to meditate longer. You need to meditate more often, right? You need to get better at meditating. And that's bullshit. Meditation is really more about mental health than anything else, right? And yes, of course, our mental health can improve our spiritual abilities, because the number one thing that you can do in order to improve your spiritual abilities or bring them to the next level is to feel good. And so meditation can indirectly help, right, by getting you to a good feeling place, right? If we're anxious and wired and all over the place, you're probably not going to want to try and connect with your loved ones or spirit guides in that moment. But if you took a few seconds to meditate and, calmed yourself, right? Or actually the underlying issue and address the anxiety, that would be the best thing, right? But meditation is not going to help you connect the spirit world. And I say this all the time. You can do it, right? Because everybody's going to get in the comments now, oh, I do it. I meditate and I see this and I see that and I do this. You can do it, but it's passive. You're not engaging, right? You're not having a back and forth conversation with your loved one. You're not getting information from your spirit guide and asking them questions and them responding and you talking. You're not having an active conversation while you're meditating. It's just all happening and you're observing when you're meditating. Now, when you take the grounded approach, when you're in your body, you're here and you're very grounded and you go right into it, you can actively communicate and have those types of experiences. You can have the back and forth conversation. You can have engage with whatever's happening, right? It's not just observing, you're actually engaging with and participating and creating with the spirit world. Yeah, so Big Timmy says, I need to be less ceremonial about tapping in. I totally agree, right? When I lost the processes and I lost the rituals and I let go of all of that stuff to communicate and connect with my abilities, it all changed for me. Now, I do enjoy all of that stuff. And so a lot of people think that I'm anti-spiritual practice and I'm anti-ceremony and I'm anti-ritual. I am not. But what are we using them for? I enjoy going to all kinds of events, spiritual events, and being part of the community and using those rituals to bring people together, to feel the soul tribe together. The ceremonial parties and aspects of celebrating different deities even, or the different cultures. And I think all of that is amazing and wonderful, and I participate in it all in my spare time. But when it comes to connecting with our abilities, it is way more practical than all of that stuff. And if I want to communicate with the spirit world, I am not going to process one of those rituals from some certain tradition, right? It's easier than that, right? Those rituals only exist in that tradition as a way, and the myth behind the tradition exists as a way to pass the story down. It's specific to that lineage. It's specific to that tradition, right? And so you're limited to those ways. But when we don't limit ourselves to any one specific way or tradition, we open up ourselves to a whole new world. Thank you, Sue. Okay, here's a good question. This is something I dealt with. Why, when I start to push through the fear, I don't feel the spirit as much? Fear is something that I had to get over as well when I first started to connect to this. I was so afraid of the spirit world. And so one of the things that I had to do was face it, right? And the more that I faced it, the more comfortable that I got. But as I was facing it, before I totally got comfortable with the spirit world, as I would face the spirits, I would feel this element of it fading and me not feeling them there, not being able to have that stronger connection. And what I realized was happening, I was so caught up in my own mind trying to make myself not afraid that I lost my receptivity. That's all that it was, is that I totally went in my head and was fighting all these thoughts. It's demons, it's evil, it's wrong, they're gonna get me, this is not safe. All of those thoughts that everyone has that we shouldn't, that there's no reason for those thoughts, no basis behind it. All of those thoughts, I was having those as well. And so in my mind, I'm fighting those thoughts off. And so what happens is I'm more focused on fighting that stuff off than I am the spirit. And of course, I'm not gonna feel them. And so that was something that I totally relate to whoever asked that question. So here's the thing, just get through the fear first, right? That's the biggest thing. Face the fear head on. You'll never get to a position where you're like, oh, I'm no longer afraid anymore, right? If you have the fear, right? Not everybody has that fear. If you have a fear of the spirit world, you're never gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna do this thing and then I will not be afraid anymore. Then I will communicate with the spirit world. That doesn't happen. There is no thing that you can do to overcome a fear of the spirit world. The only thing that does that is facing it, is feeling the fear and communicating with the spirit world anyway. You are safe. There's nothing to worry about. Hi, August. I spoke with you in messages. I hope that was you. So no, I do not speak. I don't DM. I don't communicate. The only place that you will catch me communicating with people is on my verified Facebook account. There's so many messages on all the other platforms. I have a Facebook verified account. That is the only account that I will respond to your messages. I'm not reaching out to you and sending a message first. If you're getting a message from me on TikTok, it is not me. It is a copycat account, okay? And I only have one account here on TikTok. I don't have a backup account. This account here, August underscore gun solves. That's my only account here on TikTok. I don't have a backup one. And I'm in the process of getting verified here on TikTok as well. It's just a little bit harder. What about addiction? What about addiction? I'm 10 years sober. I began to turn on once, what does this say here? I began to turn on once I got sober. Okay, so this is really common, right? So, when we've been faced with addiction for a period of time and then we get clear and we actually feel safe in our body again, because that's what addiction is all about. Addiction is about numbing, so we leave our body because we're not comfortable with the pain here in our body, whether it be physical or emotional, right? And so once we get over that, right, in order to get out of addiction, we've got to start doing some of that healing work, right? And so that tells me you've been on this healing journey. Right? And so now that you've overcome this addiction, now that you've been clean and sober for 10 years, congratulations, by the way. Now that you've been clean for that long, absolutely, now that you feel safe in the body, now that you've done that healing work, it's all going to come up for you. Absolutely. I just started my spiritual journey and I need help. Here's the biggest piece of advice I can give anyone who's beginning their spiritual journey. Don't blindly follow anyone in the spiritual community. Don't adopt their beliefs as truth unless you can have a personal experience to validate it as true. There's going to be all kinds of things that resonate with you. There's going to be all kinds of charismatic people that you're going to want to believe blindly and accept everything that they're saying as true. Do not do it. Do not do it. If the information resonates, if the person's charismatic, if they resonate with you, experiment. Just experiment with their information. If you're not able to have an experience with the information they're giving you, it is not your truth. Let it go. This will keep you away from harmful, nonsense information that will just keep you stuck for life. And listen, everybody out there, that goes for me as well. Don't blindly follow me. If I wanted followers to blindly follow me, I would start a religion or something, right? Take my stuff that I'm talking about, apply it, validate it through personal experience. If you don't get it, then ask questions. Let's talk. Let's have a chat about it, right? That's why I want my content. If you look at all my content, it's practical, it's straightforward. It's put together in a way that you can take it and apply it immediately and have an experience. That's what you want to look for in the information that you're getting. Can I apply this and have an experience? And that's what I want you guys to do with my stuff. Don't blindly believe me. Don't take my word for anything. Go out there and apply it. Why doesn't anybody tell you how to properly do it without paying them money? I mean, have you seen my videos? Have you read the comments in this live? I mean, there's no shortage of people in this live. I mean, I've seen all the comments. I see them all the time. I read a lot more comments than probably many of the creators out there, right? I don't hold anything back, right? I don't hold anything back. I'm writing a book. I have a course, all of that stuff. I give you the information in my videos right now, the free content. You get it all. I give you the stuff. There's no secret that I'm withholding. You get it all from me right now. But when you pay for my mentorship, you pay for me to hold your hand and walk you through it. That's what the paid version is for. And those are for the people that are very serious, that want to do this, that are having experiences with my content already and just need a little bit of help to get them over the edge, right? Or maybe a lot of help to get them over the edge. That's why my paid mentorship allows me to put out all of this free content. I give away the secrets. What you buy in my mentorship is implementation of those secrets. Okay, which is my time, right? My dedication. I put a lot of energy into my students. I will hold your hand and work with you and walk you right into the experience you're looking to have. And I will not stop. I will stay there with you until you get into that experience. Okay? That's what my mentorship program is all about. Everything else is free. Okay? And if you're interested in my mentorship program, you can schedule an interview at the link in my bio. If that's for you. If not, that's fine. You don't have to. Just keep watching my free content. So everybody, I am going to run. I got to get going. It was a pleasure connecting with you all here today. Thank you for all the questions, all the comments. Really keep asking questions on that. On my videos and the lives, because you are the inspiration of my content. Anything that you need from me, I'm here to give it to you. If you're just new to this and you need some framework and you're looking for somewhere to get started, I have some free resources at the link in my bio as well. I have a free spirit communication guide that will give you a framework to get started, right? It's the framework that I teach, right? But all put together in a PDF. In a PDF form, step by step for you. You can get that for free. Those of you that are serious, those of you that are looking for a done for you experience, those of you that want me to hold your hand and walk you into a conversation with your loved one and show you how to do it anytime, anywhere, and as long as you want, then you're probably going to be interested more in my mentorship program. And that's it. There's an interview process for that. You can schedule an interview with me at the link in my bio for that as well. Until next time, guys, I love you all.